Okay, we're going to have a presentation now that is going to be the outline of the circumstances that occurred leading to an engine burnover and the subsequent findings that promoted CAL FIRE to take the action they did. First, we have Mike Shater, currently the fleet manager for CAL FIRE San Bernardino, responsible for repair and maintenance of 250 vehicles, has 35 years experience in this field. The range of vehicles, of course, as you would know, is 250s, Type 1s, Type 3 engines, dozers, transport, crew buses, chippers, and a lot of state types. Has been with CAL FIRE for the last 21 years. He works as a mechanic and fleet manager during this time. And our other presenter, Dustin Chrisinger, currently a heavy equipment mechanic assigned to CAL FIRE San Bernardino at Prada. 21 years of experience in CAL FIRE, 16 years as a firefighter, last 5 as a heavy equipment mechanic. And really, that's about it. You're hard. Yeah, it's up. You did. Right. Sound up? Okay. So I'm Mike Shater. I'm the LEN complete equipment manager, CAL FIRE San Bernardino. Dusty asked me to remind you that, unlike him, I like people, but he does not. This is Dustin Chrisinger. He's one of my heavy equipment mechanics. He's stationed out at Product Camp, but he has the opportunity to work on all of my equipment. So we're going to talk about the BEUs Burnover, but not in the operational side of how those people got themselves there, all of that. I'm here to talk to you about the mechanical side, the fire truck that was burned over, and what led to some of those, what led to the situation and our subsequent findings from the committee, from the green sheet, and then what we found in the field. So this is a pretty light, basically. What I'd like to do is open it for any questions that come up. Please raise your hand. I'll try to address them as we get there. This is my first time speaking before the trip, so I want to say thank you for inviting us. So, preparing this, I didn't know how much you needed to know. There's not much official stuff that I could share that we have going on, of course, until the official information is actually released. So I can share with you our experiences as a fleet manager and an equipment mechanic. I can also share with you any other information that just feels necessary. I know a lot of people run the 34s just like we do, despite everybody does. So there's lots of inherent issues that come with those. And so, again, if there's a question, raise your hand. I'll try to answer the best I can. Okay? So, body control line with VCM, that's what they're saying led to the issues that the Burnover had. Right? And I'm not so. So what we know so far is that the BCM controls that function, the shifting of the transfer cage that controls all the body functions on the fire truck. It's the brain to the fire truck. All of the equipment that we attach onto it when we build it talks to the BCM, and they're switching interface. So the BEU, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over to Dustin. Dustin has a background in fire controls. I do not. I came over from the private side on just lead management. So I'm going to have him speak to that. Just going to give a brief overview. We're not going to go through the whole green sheet, but once he gets to the portion where we're dealing with the individuals in the fire department to the EPA, he'll speak to that. So I'm going to turn it over to Dustin.
Okay, so I'm not going to talk about the actual burnovers. I'm going to talk about it's a bullet point straight from the green sheet that led to the burn. Obviously, it was a perfect fire. They had first engine at 2 acres, moderate rate spread, potential for outdoors. They were communicating with air attack, trying to find access the other fire as changes. And they were making access through a fire system, a well-established fire system. The fire engine is a 2009 Hellfire Spec Model 34 four-wheel drive. And just to show it, who has a international cab and chassis in their fleet? Just about everybody. Your department has at least something. While gaining access, the fire captain attempted to engage the four-wheel drive. After completing the sequence, there was a failure to engage. And there's a certain sequence that has to be followed for the fire engine to engage in the four-wheel drive. It has to be neutral, parking brake set. You engage, there's two switches on a multiplex switch. You gotta engage one of the switches, engages the front differential, and the other one is your transfer case, goes from high to neutral delivery. Cool. During this attempt at the sequence, he heard the alarm, the beeping sound, and it was a failure to engage. The engine became stuck in neutral. And that's straight out of the green sheet. What it was the transfer case. He was in neutral. The transmission would go into gearbox, so it would go where because the transfer case. The fire captain reversed the order and tried to attempt it again for at least 3 or 4 more times. This fire captain is a seasoned fire captain. This was his fire engine. He wasn't working overtime on an engine that he doesn't know. And he tried it 3 or 4 times. It tells me he got the sequence correct, at least one of the time. Again. Fire captain then attempted to put it in 2-wheel drive. It was still no success. The captain then released the spring brake, allowed the engine to roll backwards a few feet to try to release a bind in the gearing. That was not successful either. It remained in neutral. Fire captain then attempted a hard reset. I don't know if you all know what a hard reset is, but it's ignition off, battery switch off, let it set for a minute, battery switch back on, restart the engine, and try the sequence again. The alarm's still sounding, the transfer case is still in neutral. The fire captain continued to try to work the problem for up to 20 minutes, according to the grade sheet. All the way until the fire conditions deteriorated and they had to start pulling engine protection. Securing over after it got one time. What? This is keeping notch. That's all they eat from the pipe.
Thank you, Dustin. All right, so Dustin just explained to you or went over how they got to where we are now, basically. So the steps that the operator took to try to engage the transfer case is that ultimately that's what that transfer case went into neutral, so it not engaged. So no matter what the transmission was doing, they couldn't move, right? So in the report, they've deemed that it was a BCM failure, body control module. Again, like I said, the body control module interfaces with everything on the fire truck, and it basically runs everything but the engine. Right? So let me skip through this, because all I did was I loaded the grade sheet, and I know we don't want to go over all that. Dustin just went over the sequence of events here. So what CAL FIRE decided to do, in their infinite wisdom, as soon as this came out, is there was an order that came out that said every BCM in the state, in an international fire truck or crew bus or stake site, was to do in place. And it's trusted the president. So I'm going to speak to that, and then what I'm going to do is I'd like to open up the floor to questions, but I'm going to speak to what we found in the field on our own. Unfortunately, once that email went out, there's no calling it back. So for me, we were well over 50 grand into BCMs. There's a core charge for each BCM. It's about $1,300, and then depending on your dealership, unless you have the ability to have the software to transfer from the information from the old BCM, we download that into the computer, load that back up into the new BCM, and then you load the new BCM back into the vehicle that's being repaired. So if you don't have the ability to do that, that's another $300 to $600, and your time going down to the dealer, waiting for them to do that. And so for me, it's about 47 pieces of equipment. Okay? So what identifying factors exist to let you know that you may have a bad BCM? Right? So this is what Davis has come up with. You have this is the information that we learned over the last year. Okay, so you're going to have some errant body codes. On your scanner, if you have the ability to, or if you can't, you're going to be seeing some really weird codes. The fan switch isn't working. Well, it is working. It's keeping the engine full. You've got relays that have loads that aren't authorized on okay? You're going to see auxiliary switch. They're just really weird codes that you don't normally see. You can suspect that you have a BCM issue, but don't condemn the BCM right away because, well, it's 23 bucks. We're going to be seeing that there's unauthorized switches coming on. Like I said, they're just, if you're familiar with the engine and the codes that normally come up, you're going to say to yourself, these aren't normal. And the engine runs fine. You're not understanding. If the fan switch is bad, it should be overheating. Transfer case codes, but everything was working fine, right? So there is a visible sign that Davis is our mobile equipment facility. So Davis is in Sacramento, Davis, California. And that is where all of our equipment comes from. That's where all the specs come from. That's where they're ordered, they're delivered, they're outfitted, and then they're pushed out to the field. So they're the end all and the beginning of all our vehicles. They tell us what we're driving. They tell us what's supposed to come on. They tell us sometimes what we're supposed to do, as in the case of placing all the BCMs. So you can figure out if you had bad BCM, but don't condemn it right away, all right? Let's and I'm going to walk you through some of the steps that Dustin took on a fire truck for me to get to the conclusion that we're at. I'm just sharing this information. I'm not saying this is the end all for all BCM issues. Okay, so what did Cal Fire do? I mentioned that. The entire state had to replace every single BCM. Okay, so when this came out, I made a call to our local vendor. He says I got 3. I said, well, do you need any more? I said, yeah, I need about 30 more. And he said, excuse me? I said, about 30 more. I said, can you realize what that's going to do? I do, but I don't have a choice. Well, keep in mind, we have 24 units across the state. And San Bernardino is an average-sized department across the state. So if every unit was ordering 30 plus BCMs, you can imagine what happened. So the orders went out. Fortunately, we were able to jump on it, and we got ours in a couple of months. So I've been talking about a BCM, but I know some of you are thinking, where the hell is this, right? Okay, so on the driver's side, in the kick panel, of course ours has the little red tag, but under this kick panel right here is the BCM. There's a bulb there, there's a bulb there, and there's one pointing in this way. 10 millimeter, I think a 13 up on top, and you gotta pull this screw out, and then it just pops off. And behind it is your BCM. Cal Fire decided that if it was leaking, it must be bad. So There's 3 different generations of BCMs. There's the first generation. I have a picture of the second and the new generation. I was unable to get a picture of the first generation. But inside the components, inside the box, is a bonding compound that they use to hold all the electrons. And this piece here actually faces down. And so it just melts and falls out. So I made a call to International, and I said, because after about the 3rd time we went down there to get a program, they go, what are you guys doing with phones? Oh, about your bad VCMs. What makes you think they're bad? I said, well, they're leaking. They said, oh, they're like that. They come in like that all the time. I said, what do you mean they come in like that all the time? He says, yeah, our techs look at them, and if they're running fine, we leave them in service. All be done. That's going to have any failures. And so it's very, very human. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Yeah. So there's a lot of soot and buildup, but when you're looking at it from outside, you just pull the cover and you can see it. It's down at the bottom. It's going to be just a pile of dot hair, dust, and what? That's what's inside the BCM. It's a bunch of switches and relays, and it controls everything within the fire source. Your build-up interfaces with this, and it tells the lights to do whatever, and ramp up the RPMs with pump in. All of that ties into the BCM for ACM controls. It knows when your the transmissions in controls, unless you could put it in pumps. Yeah, PTO pumps, those type of fish. So this is the old International part number. It's a metal case. We'll identify it as a hot metal case. Right, here we go. It looks like that. You sure? And on the back side, so what is mounted in there, I believe it's a bolt here and a bolt there. It's 2 bolts. Comes out, plugs in the back. Literally takes about 15 minutes to change, but about 3 hours to get programmed. So that's the new one. It's plastic. There is no gel in it. All the electronics are air cooled. They've figured out that works over there. So anybody that has any knowledge of electronics knows that when switches go back and forth, because that's all those transistors are, they're just different kinds of switches. When they start switching back and forth and they're oscillating at a really high frequency, they're going to generate. That heat is what's melting the goo that's inside, and that's what's causing it to leak out. It's not because they're bad. It's just bad. So the new design it's a plastic case, air cooled. You can see the vents here, all the way around. They plug and play. You go to the back of it, you plug it in. Some of these you'll use all the plugs, some of them you won't. Because it fits from 2009 all the way up to the last one that we worked on was 2022, 21. Same knee scale. All it is a brain, and it plugs in. Real easy, you can't make any mistakes between one plug and the other. So you don't have to mess with where one plug came out. I believe on the back side of the separate way will be for the different colors. Underneath this red plug is a hot wire. 10 millimeter, unscrew it, put back on, plug it all in, you're good to go. That's the new generation part cover. What I would recommend, what we did find was they sell a remanufactured. Don't buy the reman. It's fine. We did have a couple that was mad out of the box. We have not had any of the new ones. I'm a big proponent of buying new. I know it's expensive. It's things that like things there. So, just so, one thing. Dustin mentioned a mobile quick start. That's the switch that controls transfer case, front differential. Multiplex means that they use a lot of common wires. So one switch will use, or set the switches will use one common wire. So it's really nice when you're building a fire truck because, right, you just send 1 or 2 wires up and it does the job of 10 wires. But on the other hand, if one of those switches or the switchback goes bad, it affects everything on that multiplex. So Dustin was working on a fire truck right after the ACM recall came out. Was going in and out of Mitchell, and the drive, maybe go swing to the drive on its own. Right? We got a bad BCM. That's what it's got to be, right? Just changed every one of them with a mistake. It's got to be. So Dusty goes and gets a new BCM Marine, takes it down. We go through the hassle of getting it programmed. We put it all in. He goes to start it. He's on the phone with me. He says, listen to this thing. It's still doing it. And it's literally going in and out. And you're dropping air. Like, what the hell? I said, no, maybe we got a bad BCM. Then it's outed, right? So he does some more checking. And while he's in there, he happens to go over and move the multiplex switch. And every time you move the switch,
I just wiggled it. So this complaint came out. We put it drive, that's still nowhere. The transmission's shifting as the RPMs come out. By the time I get out there, he's working fine. I take it on, and now that's driving. Everything's running fine. So I pull it back in. I said, no, there's nothing wrong with this. And as I go to pull it in their bag, it does it to me. So I get it to go again, pull it around into my shop, plug it in the scanner. And this is after I replaced the VCM. That also is a 2009, just like the price of regions. So I went straight to the VCM. This was a week later after just trying it. I plugged in my scanner into it, and the transfer case is switching from high range to neutral to low range to neutral. Keys off. I'm outside of the fire engine. It's just doing it all by itself. So, replace the multiplex switch for a whole lot less money than a BCM, and it fixed the problem.
Sure. So, my point is that don't condemn the VCM right away. So this is that multiplex switch that Dustin was talking about 2 years. Neutral, high, low. There's a switch for the front axle. It may not be on this one. I don't think it is. So this is kind of where it's located in the fire truck, so that you can it's right. And then over here on this side, there'll be where you get your switch back. So this whole, when you replace it, you replace the whole switch. All switches. It's all one piece. And it uses common reference wires. It's a good idea, but unfortunately, when one fails, they all fail.
Also, for crew buggies and the two-wheel drive stuff, the rear differential lock is part of that multiplex switch. You could have issues with that too. And we've had some busted brake axles in the back because they're going down the highway with the rear end lock. Just adds up. So,
multiplex and all of the electronics within these new vehicles, it's all reference signal driven. So, and it's not 12 volts, it's 3 volts, 5 volts. They're reading voltage from the sensor back to that body control line. So if you're dealing with 3 volts as your reference and something interrupts that, and there's not a whole lot of room for error, meaning the voltage drops off rather quickly because you only have 3 volts to deal with. So CAL FIRE, in their infinite wisdom, decided that we'd start installing in every single state vehicle what they call telematics. Telematics is a tracking device. Plugs into your OBD2 connector, transmits back to somewhere in Sacramento, can track your speed, your mileage, location, anything that the vehicle computer is reading, it can transmit this information back to the mothership. What we found is, because it's plugged into the OBD2, it's creating resistance, which is often causing some of those errant codes, the fan, the auxiliary switch, unauthorized connections to switch number 7. And we confirmed this by replacing a VCM, took it out for a drive, came back, some of the codes were still there. It was one of them was a fan switch, auxiliary switch number 4, and an unauthorized connection to this terminal. It's terminal 32 or something. So we pulled the telematics out because they just saw it. So we clicked the code and said, like, the Kevin takes it for a test drive. Took it for an hour test drive, came back out a single code. Like telematics back in, those 3 codes came back out. Not because there's an issue, but because there's resistance in that line and is reading that there's a problem. Yep. So we've had some misdiagnoses because of those. I mentioned that it alters the resistance of the wire. So it's anything about electronics now in these new vehicles, it's all about resistance. Connection's got to be good, the wire's got to be good. Right. Hey. So, what about fire rate threat? We seem to think that we can add anything and everything on the back of that. Look at the new pump modules and the controls, all electronic, guys. We're adding lights. We're adding, you name it. Whams and zooms. I get it. You guys got to do your job, right? But for every piece that gets added, that's another connection that the computer is going to see that could be resistance. It could add to a number of other things. All of these systems integrate with the OEM, so it's tying directly into the BCM and just talking to the engine control module. So it starts out here, and you got a light fit, an LED light that's back feeding because of the diameter. So now it's feeding the BCM, and BCM everything that it's malfunction. It's tied to another multiplex wire that runs another piece of the engine, and now the BCM going, whoa, we got some issues, and now all of a sudden you've got a check engine light telling you stop engine down. We get out, we scan it. This doesn't make sense. It's telling me this particular circuit is bad, but it's obviously working. Got to start chasing down connections, grounds, fuses. I mentioned that the multiplex system using voltage as a reference, and all of the traditional wires from electronics that it just leads to resistance trains. You know anything about wire and connections? One required, one resistance, same word. People put through an inch and a half of it, right? You got to have so much pressure to get so far. Basically, that's what a wire is. So, all of these electronics, there's a resistor on both ends, and it has to put in there, and it has to have that resistor for the system to complete the circuit. So you have 2 wires that go out. And sending voltage up will run, and receiving voltage down the other. That's how the night works. So on each end of this wire, there's a resistor that just plugs in. If that goes bad, again, they're going to have all kinds of error codes because, again, it's reading the resistance, and it's going to be an open circuit. I'm not saying the DCMs don't go bad. They do. It's a piece of electronics, right? You want to make sure that it is the BCM. So you can take it out and take it down to have it tested, or go through and make sure that all of the other issues or other things that I had mentioned hold true. They don't cost you a lot of money, they cost you a little time. To make sure that all of those are intact, and if those are intact, the chances are you do have a fat BCM. Mentioned that they need program. So unless your techs have, or against insight, they have insight. It's about $5,000 for the program and about $1,500 a year for the recharge. So it does give you more insight into what's going on inside the engine. Or about the more versed field technicians get smart to make sure that it was the side. It was so. So I mentioned some of the scenarios. There are a lot of different scenarios that can happen that we mimic that BCM. And so again, I just want to reiterate, don't condemn the BCM right away. Yeah, there's no definitive answer right now why it is. And that's causing very clear. You haven't been able to determine whether it's a polling spike, whether it's out and bash around in weather. But that's something to do with the situation that the fire truck was in, wasn't key. We don't know, because we haven't had enough failures to actually do a study on it. Like, well, that wasn't making one north throughout the state, but it was a completely different scenario. In fact, I think it was out in the academy. That one we're not sure yet. When I mentioned earlier today that there's a lot of, I don't have a definitive answer. That's what I didn't correct. So who knows for sure. One of the cancer said what caused the PCM will keep you through the or the one at the academy. Because one at the academy they were just doing drills, pulling forward, backing out. They made that. Boom. I think that's it. So